Clearing the air. Licking your wounds after the encounter with the wyvern-mounted air priest, you decide to rest. The lightning attacks took quite a bit out of you, and some recuperation is needed before you proceed. You head back to the gatehouse to secure your safety, and Leilune casts a ritual called Leomund's Tiny Hut, which covers you all in a dome of protection that your enemies should not be able to pierce before you decide to rest. The time passes eventfully. First, Jadago once again begins to exhibit uncharacteristically bullying type behaviour in your joint preparations to make a meal and get comfortable. And you once again note that not only has the Tabaxi put on a lot of weight and is looking a bit wide-jowled, but that his nose is becoming a bit upturned. Quirky's heckles are immediately raised, remembering how he fell to the Weirboar's tusks at Riverguard Keep, and wondering if Jadago was not able to resist the lycanthrope's curse as he did. Taking no chances, and perhaps just in time, the gnome plays at helping Jadago with his bedroll, before suddenly unleashing a remove curse spell upon him. Already well on the way to becoming a Weirboar himself, Jadago tries to resist the spell, but thankfully for the rest of you, and perhaps Jadago himself, he fails. Within seconds, you watch as the changes in his face and body structures disappear, and he returns to the lean, mean, whirling steel machine you have come to love. After glaring at Quirky for a moment due to having been tricked, Jadago smiles a toothy smile and offers to make the gnome a herbal tea in thanks. Quirky gratefully accepts, but secretly dies inside, wondering where he can pour the ghastly tea away to without being seen. After only a couple of hours, you spot 5 cultists skulking down the gatehouse passageway to attack you. Leilune's magics prevent them from seeing into the dome in which you rest, but you can see them perfectly and take aim with your bows. Within seconds, it's over. Like a manticore flinging its hail spikes, you loose your arrows and bolts with devastating effect, decimating the cultists who are no match for you. You settle in for a sleep now that you can relax, drifting off to the pleasant drip drip dripping of the blood of your enemies running down the corridor's walls. Once rested, Leilune decides to use her owl familiar to fly around the entire complex to reveal its secrets to her mind's eye. It reveals little as it explores areas previously seen, but does spot what is obviously a genie, which seems engrossed in conducting some kind of cleaning of the area. But then Leilune steers the owl through an open entrance into the step pyramid, attempting to learn about what's inside. As it enters the first level, it sees that 2 rows of pillars support a 20-foot high ceiling of a marble hall. The pillars are sculpted to resemble dwarves locked in solemn stares, with each one clutching a stone axe. East of the pillars are 2 ascending marble staircases without handrails. There is also a 10 feet square pit in the middle of the room, from which howling air rises. As Leilune's owl familiar flies up one of the staircases, it rises 20 feet into a spacious chamber containing a map of an ancient dwarven realm meticulously etched into the flagstone floor. At the far end of the chamber, a high throne atop a marble dais overlooks all. Peaked arcades hung with gossamer sky blue curtains run the length of the chamber on either side. From behind these, a heady incense wafts, its sweet smoke moving like a creature of air. Behind the high throne, a great spiralling horn rests in an alcove. Sitting on the throne is a woman with feathered wings holding a spear. She locks eyes with the owl, and seconds later, something unseen destroys it with deadly force. Leilune comes back to herself and relays the information she found. Together, you decide to leave the step pyramid for now and explore the areas you previously ignored. Heading down dark passageways, you listen intently on ancient stone doors, examining them for traps and opening them cautiously on empty rooms that seem to have been living quarters. In addition, you believe you find a tunnel that may lead to another temple complex somewhere else beneath the Sumber Hills. Based on your knowledge of the geography above, you determine it may lead towards Riverguard Keep and perhaps an underground water temple, but you are not sure. You leave the tunnel for now and continue exploring the air temple. Soon you identify a couple of rooms from which you hear what you think is the persecution of prisoners or slaves. Opening one, you find that frescoes cover 2 walls of the chamber, one depicting the creation of the dwarves of Moradin, the other a massive battle between orcs and dwarves. The far wall is pocked and pitted with holes in the masonry, where gemstones once surrounded an altar in the shape of an anvil, but now only the chipped remnants of garnets and agates remain. Within the room, 3 Kenku are in the process of torturing 5 human slaves. Shocked at your sudden appearance, they are completely surprised. You deliver swift justice, with Jadago exhibiting spectacular acrobatics and redefining the term natural wastage. When the feathers land, you put the prisoners at ease to discover that 4 of them were travellers from Yartar, whilst the 5th is called Bero Gladam, who, once his wits have been returned, relays that he and his wife were part of the Mirabar delegation. He sobs as he tells you that he thinks his wife, Nerys, has been taken elsewhere, but he cannot give you any more information than that, except that the cultists refer to themselves as the Cult of the Howling Hatred and worship an air deity. He pleads you find his wife and return her, and you agree to do what you can, deciding to keep the prisoners safe by casting another protection dome ritual upon them until you return. Heading to the other stone door, you hear noises beyond that sound like slaves being driven to do hard labour. You charge in to see 2 massive stone pillars threading holes in the floor and ceiling of a vast chamber. Stone crossbeams pierce the pillars, forming spokes, creating giant wheels. 2 robed figures whip 5 sorry-looking humans into pushing against the crossbeams of the westernmost wheel with all their might. As the wheel turns slowly counterclockwise, you hear the grinding of enormous gears hidden deep below the stone floor. The 2 cultists are completely surprised, and Helfi takes advantage of the situation to fling herself into combat to destroy a cultist with her eldritch magic, only for her lances to glance off him with barely any effect. Her companions follow her into the room, and it's all over in moments. You free the slaves from their shackles, and they are exhausted. They do not have much more information to offer than the previous slaves you emancipated, except to tell you that the wheels affect the level of the moat, so you ensure they are safe by casting another dome of protection and putting it around them. You decide to progress along the eastern side of the complex towards where the genie is situated, but on opening a further door to what you suspected were more living quarters, you are immediately attacked by Howling Hatred sorcerers and monks, who heard you from behind the door due to Jadago shouting after his cousin, Muezza, who had decided to explore on his own again. Leilune is immediately caught in 2 high-powered witch bolts, but she responds by casting a sickening radiance spell and shutting the door, effectively locking the air cultists inside a hostile environment. The sounds of choking to death have their own sickening ring to them, to those who can hear beyond the door. But after nearly 30 seconds, there is complete silence. Leilune cancels her spell, and you open the door to find several dead cultists with faces contorted in a state of sheer terror. Examining their belongings, you find very little, but decide to take a moment to compose yourselves and determine whether you have the strength to push on to the step pyramid. Thank you for listening to the progress of my Dungeons & Dragons group as they make their way through the Princes of the Apocalypse campaign setting. Watch out for further episodes where we shall learn about the party's assault on the Step Pyramid and whether they survive their encounter with the cult of howling hatred.